Then me and Mike, at this time, I got a truck, and then he asked me, can we move all his stuff into the new house in my truck? And I'm like, yeah, we can move it. So, anyways, we ended up moving all their stuff out of the house on John Crunk over to the new house. And then I remember when we got all the stuff in there, his dad couldn't get around that much too good, but his mom could at the time. And he asked me, he said, hey, you mind if we go pick my dad up? And his dad lived right down the street on Military. His mom and dad did. And they were good people. And I said, yeah, we'll go pick him up. We went to get him because Mike wanted to show him the house, because he was happy that they got a house. So we go pick him up, take him down there. He looks at it. They like it. Everybody likes it, Everybody's checking it out and stuff. But this was a nice place. And then Sherry's sister ended up moving upstairs. And it had like kind of like a upstairs attic, maybe, I guess, but it was big up there. She moved up, made her bedroom up there. And she was a nice girl. I remember taking her a couple times to the library and dropping her off. And that was over by Tailways off of Michigan Avenue. Actually, kind of across from Tailways off of Michigan Avenue. But, and I seen her a few times in the house, because a lot of times she stayed up in her room or she was gone. And I think later on she ended up meeting a dude, and I don't know if she met him at the library, because she used to go to the library a lot, or where she met him at, but she was a good person too. But anyways, unknown to me that this house, would be their last stay. That's what's sad about it. It has some good memories and it's got some bad memories. But this house, like I said, when they moved in there, they only had Sean and Jeremy. And sometimes I would have my kids, and if I didn't have my kids, my ex-wife would have the kids or whatever. But anyways, sometimes I would bring my boy over there, and then Sherry used to take her two boys over on Junction. There's a park over there, then there's a building where they got like classes, like Sunday school or something like that, where you take little kids there and stuff. So he used to take her kids. Sometimes I'd let her take my oldest son over there, and he'd go over there with them. And but anyways, they ended up having a daughter after that. And then they lived there for quite some time. And then I had left the area. And then later I found out that my friend Mike had passed away. And this was some bad news, And but anyways, when I found that out, what was crazy about it is when I found out about it, it wasn't right as it happened. Because if it was right after it happened, I would have went to the funeral and stuff. But I found out later on down the road through somebody that lived in the neighborhood. Because I got contacts in the areas of Detroit all over, even till today. And but anyways, I hear later on that he had passed away, and then I was like, then I was asking the person what happened, and they was telling me what happened. And but it was just a crazy incident, because uh, he just, you know, from what they said, he took his own life or something like that, and it was just crazy. When I heard that, I was, I didn't believe it, you know, but it was just crazy, and you know, and then after that, then later on down the road, I call. First, I talked to a friend of mine. Yeah, I called a friend of mine later on down the road just to see if I could find out more information. No, right after when I heard that he passed away, but it was like later down the road. First thing I did was call his brother and his sister-in-law. And when I called their house, Robert answers the phone, and then he said his dad's sleeping. And I said, all right, and I really didn't want to push it that much, but I did want to talk to him. I think I left my phone number, or my phone number had to be on the ID caller, but he never called back. So I realized that, he was probably going through a hard time with that situation too. So I just left it alone. You know what I mean? And but I really wanted to find out what happened. And so, anyways, after that, uh, then later on, I found out that Sherry ended up passing away too in the hospital. And I thought this was crazy because it just didn't seem real, And but anyways, I found out later what happened with her. But I don't know what I think her sister ended up taking the kids, but now their kids are grown, but taking the kids in and stuff like that. But I don't know what she did, if she did anything about it, but really, and she probably didn't, but really she should have had somebody investigate her sister's passing at the hospital, because I just think that there was some foul play, on that situation. And there's reasons that I think that, but anyways, after that, then I called, when I heard about her, then I called my friend David, and he was working at the Jim Pollard store at the time. And I was asking what happened to Mike, and he can only tell me what he knew or what he heard. He really didn't know a whole lot. And then he was like, "Well, do you hear Sherry pass too?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I heard that too." And he was the same way I was. He was like, "Man, this is crazy," And just couldn't, he couldn't believe that, and it was just weird for me to be hooked up with him for so long, and then, like I said, I knew Sherry Soulsby before I met Mike Davis. And so I known him for a long time, but it was just weird that oh, you know, we moved him into that house, and then later on I find out because I just felt like they was just gonna be there, you know what I mean? And then later on I found out all this happened. It was just a big shock to me. And I really felt sorry for them kids, but I felt like her sister had took them in and raised them, you know, or she just continued to take care of them or whatever. But that was crazy because we all had a lot of good times together, stuff like that. And I think I want to say the last time that I had been to their house was on their daughter's birthday. And when I left the area, they didn't even have a daughter. And then I went away for a while. And then when I came back, I went by to see them. And just so happened it was their daughter's birthday, but I didn't know it was. And I had went out there and visited for a while. But I wasn't expecting all them people, to be honest with you, because I was just going to see them and just holler at them. But they just had a big crowd in the backyard and they was just having a party for the daughter. And then Mike came up to me and he was like, "Hey, how'd you know it was my daughter's birthday today?" And I said, "I didn't. I just showed up." So it was kind of odd how that worked out. But I visited with him, for a while, and then I had left. But that was crazy, and then after that I had because when I had went over there, I was working for Myers, and this is where is this? Myers is trying to think of the street it's on. I think it's on Fort. I think it's on 4th Street, way out 4th Street. But I could be wrong. But anyways, I was working at Myers, and it was like outside of Detroit. And the way I used to drive from there, I would go down Michigan Avenue, and then go into Dearborn, and then make a left and go down to I want to say it's 4th Street, and then make a right and go into Myers. But that was an interesting job there. I liked it over there. And for anybody that's wondering about Myers is up north, but it's just like Walmart. It's got the gas station out in the parking lot, and stuff like that. And it's a real big store, and it's just called Meijer. But when I was working over there, I met this girl, and she worked with me, and we had not just me and her. It's like a four or five crew people that worked together. And one day she comes to work and she asks me, "Can I give her a ride home?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, "Because you live in Detroit, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Where you live?" She said, "I live off Burner Avenue." And I was like, "Yeah, I know where that's at." And I said, "Yeah, I could give you a ride." On the way home from the place, I was asking her, how she likes the job and all that. And she said she liked it. And she was telling me that her old man is a chef at a hotel, at a restaurant. And I was like, "Wow, I bet that's interesting. I bet he feeds you good." And she was telling me how, you know, on his job, he don't have to clean up after himself. All he does is cook. When you're a chef, you just cook. And then you have other people prepare the food, like slicing stuff up for you and all that. Then you have a person that cleans up for you too. So anyway, it's just telling me that sometimes him and his friends should be, at work, and then she'll come home because they like watched the game or whatever, and they cooked a bunch of food, and she said the whole kitchen would be demolished. And I was like, and this is where I found out that he don't have to clean up after himself, because I was like, he's a chef and he keeps the kitchen all messy. And then she's like, well, at his job, he don't have to clean up. They got somebody that cleans up after him. And she said, that's me and his biggest problem, where he likes to cook, but he don't like to clean up his mess. And, so that's how I found out that, when you're a chef, because I didn't realize that. I figure if you're a chef, you got to at least clean your mess up. But no, they have people that helps you, it's like a crew. But that was interesting, over there. But as, like I said, as time passed, I don't know what became of that house. I don't know if they her sister ended up selling it, or if they ended up just moving out. And, I think the last I heard that they moved to Dearborn or Dearborn Heights. But, yeah, and then there, the sisters and brothers and all that, they're all kind of spread it out in the area, But I hope they're doing well today. And that was just some of the stuff, that's happened. And like I said, this is a channel that tells my story. So, that's some of it right there. But, them two losses, I've lost a lot of people over time. And them two losses was rough, and then I have lost some other ones that's rough. They all not easy to deal with, but you got to be strong and just cope with it and keep moving on. That's the main thing. But but sometimes you think about the people who's passed away and stuff like that, and you remember all the good times that you had and all that, and that helps you, get through. But yeah, it's something else when you lose anybody that you're close to. It's just a situation that nobody really likes to deal with, but it's just part of life. But like I said, I hope their kids are doing well. And I hope her sister's doing well, her brother. As far as I know, her sister, I'm not for sure if her sister's still around or not. And her brothers, I'm not certain that they're still around, but I'm hoping they are. But, I don't have no good contact with the people who can let me know that right now. But hopefully they are, but you just never know, because the years pass, and then, a lot of people pass away. And sometimes you can go back to your old area and stuff, and you'll find out that, a lot of people's passed on. Your area doesn't even really look the same anymore. It's changed, dramatically, stuff like that. But that's one thing about life, is change. In life, in everybody's life, you're going to go through a lot of changes. So the best thing, if you got people around you that you care about and you love or whatever, cherish the time you got with them, because tomorrow's not promised. So, that being said, I wanted to talk about a friend of mine, Mike Borowski. Now, I haven't seen him in years, but I will say that, you know, he was in the neighborhood as we all used to run around together and stuff like that. And I was pretty tight with his sisters and stuff like that. And, but anyways, I remember, I'm just bringing this up because I remember a time that we had spent together for a little while. And this time is, we're living on Livernois and Plummer. And we end up selling this house that we live in. And then we ended up going out of town. And when we're getting ready to move out of town, but we got to come back for something. I forget what it was. So he wants to ride with us because he knows we're coming back. So he goes and asks his mom, could he ride? And she said, yeah. So he ends up going with us. And we're riding in the truck. And it's like I don't know, a 9 or 10 hour drive. And we're riding in the truck and just talking and everything. And it's me, him, and my stepdad. And we're just talking about random stuff, and things like that. And then right off the top of my head, I'm like, we was talking about people's tags on their car. And, a lot of stuff I did a lot of press operating and stuff like that, so I used to make quarter panels when the SS Monte Carlos first came out. I made the quarter panels to them, the doors, the hoods, stuff like that. So anyways, we're talking about the tags on cars as we're cruising down the highway and talking about all different kinds of stuff. But anyway, we get to talking about tags. And then I don't know where they make tags. So I'm like, I think that'd be a pretty cool job to have, to make tags, because I know they're making them by press, stuff like that I got experience in. And my stepdad started laughing. He said, you don't want to make them. And I was like, why not? He said, because they make tags in prison. That's where they make the tags at. And I was like, really? I didn't know that. But anyway, that's what he told me, and I was like, well, that's... And then Mike, he started laughing. He thought it was funny. And but I had no idea where they made the tags at, So we had a lot of laughs going down the highway and stuff like that. And then when we got there, he liked it, but it was a whole different atmosphere compared to Detroit. So I think I want to say we stayed a week. And then we came back the following weekend or something like that. And so that was a little journey he was on with me. And, and I knew him, when he was a pretty young man before that in Detroit on military, because his mom, when I first met him, his mom lived in a little red house on military. It's a brick house. it's tore down now, but and then he had his two sisters living there, and their older brother. I don't think he lived there. He might have, but I think he had moved out. If he did live there, he moved out or whatever. But anyways, and actually, he was the only boy in the neighborhood that had the solid red hair, and but he was a good guy, and he's actually passed away too. And so, it's just weird how, a lot of people just goes away, But we're all going to go one day, one time or another. But I just wanted to bring that up about that situation. And that was the little time that me and him, I've seen him in the neighborhood a lot of times and stuff like that. We talked in the neighborhood and stuff like that. But just spending time together was that trip. And I remember that trip, and we had a good time. We was just going on about different things, and we was in a truck, and we had that long journey, and then we stayed like a week, and then had that long journey back. So we spent some time, together. And I remember the last time I talked to him was about, I want to say 2004 or 2005. I talked to him on the telephone. And then he told me he was planning on, I don't know if he ever did it or not, but he said he was planning on going to Florida. And I told him, I said, when you go, let me give you my address. You can stop by and visit on your way through. So he took my address down and stuff, and but he never came through. So I don't know if his plans changed and he didn't go to Florida, or he just went to Florida and forgot to come by, because that happens when you're traveling. So I don't know what the situation was at, but I do remember that was the last time I talked to him was I think it was like 2004, 2005. But he was a good dude, and he'll be missed also. Everybody that I know that I was affiliated with or related to or whatever is well missed by me. But it's just different scenarios, where you meet people and stuff like that and they pass. And I got another friend in Detroit. His name's Bobby Garza. And me and him was pretty cool. And he ended up going with the dude that my mom bought her house from that was on Living was a plumber. His name was Neil. And Bobby ended up dating his daughter. And I think the way Bobby ended up meeting his daughter is because he had moved out I want to say with his dad, and his dad lived in the area where they lived, and that's how he ended up meeting her. I think that's what she had told me. And because I remember seeing her at Cozy Coast Bar, and she was with her dad, Neil. And we talked for a while. We actually danced. And then later on, her and Bobby had hooked up. And I think I asked her how they meet, because it's kind of like he was from Otis Military, but he used to sometimes go stay with his dad and stuff, and his dad like moved around and stuff like that. So I think what had happened is, I think what she had told me, if I'm remembering correctly, that she had he had moved in her neighborhood, and that's how they hooked up. And she was a real sweet girl, and Bobby's got kids with her, and she's no longer with us anymore. Neither, she passed away, and she was a real sweet girl and sweet person, and and a pretty person on top of that. And her dad was a good dude too. And but I used to see her dad a lot in Cozy Collins bar because that was his hangout. Even though I think they lived in Lincoln Park or something like that. But anyways, she's missed too because she was just a real sweet person, and you know, so she, her and Bob had kids together, so that's great, stuff like that. But she was another one that's, missed. And it's just amazing how, people pass away that you wouldn't have a clue. You wouldn't even think that because they're at a certain, they're at a young age for one. And it's just crazy. But just, the way I look at it, everybody has a number, and they got a certain date they're going to pass away. I could be wrong on this, but I just feel like when it's your time, you're going to go. Because a lot of times you hear people getting in real bad car wrecks, or you hear about people getting shot or stabbed or something like that, but they don't die. And then sometimes you hear about something happen to somebody and they pass away, and sometimes it don't even make sense. You're like, I don't even see how that would happen. But that's why I said, I think that, if you do go, as much as it hurts everybody and stuff like that, that maybe that was your time to go. You know what I mean? But maybe I could be wrong too. You know what I mean? That's just my thought on it. So the best thing to do is just treat people around you good, and just cherish the moments you have with your family and your friends and stuff like that, because